Hello, folks, and welcome to the Vertigo Tea Party. And let's try Homesick. It's developed by Lucky Paws. You can pick it up on Steam for Windows for $14.99. It has partial controller support, and purchasing the game will also include the soundtrack, which is quite good, and I'll be talking about that in a little bit. Links to the game on Steam are below in the video description. I'm going to go ahead and start a new game. Now, the developers were very apprehensive about a lot of this game being showed off because it is a puzzle game. It's not me yawning, by the way. It's our character. Just relax. They didn't want a lot shown off because it being a puzzle game and because it is very short. With puzzle games, obviously, if you show the person the puzzle, it kind of ruins part of the enjoyment of figuring the puzzles out yourself, of course. So they were very apprehensive about it. Long story short, I did get permission from them to go ahead and post a little bit. We're not going to be solving a lot of puzzles, but I at least want to give you an idea of how this game works. As you can see, it's very atmospheric. It has this spooky edge to it, though the music kind of takes that away. The music, I like the music a lot, but it gives it a more somber feel and less of a creepy feel. There was times where I was kind of wondering, like, ooh, is something going to happen? For what it's worth, and this is not really spoilers, there's not going to be any, like jump scares or anything. It's nothing like that, but it's just a very somber kind of a spooky, kind of creepy feel to the game. But there's also a very positive feel as well. Anyway, let's grab this piece of paper that we found. It looks like it's torn in half, possibly a little kid holding something and some flowers. And if we walk over here, we can see flowers. You can tell when you can interact with something. If you look in the middle of the screen, you probably see like a small dot. It might be a little bit difficult to see on YouTube. But when I hover over an item I can interact with, it becomes a bigger circle, and then I can left click on it to interact. This controls are very simplistic. WASD to move, left to interact, right click to cancel, and scrolling the mouse will scroll through your inventory of items. And again, you can see there's a piece of paper. We can look at that, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. We can move the paper around. It doesn't really seem to help us a lot here. But it's just a bunch of words that don't make a heck of a lot of sense. And you're going to find that to be the case, and I'm not going to show you all of that. But needless to say, a lot of the books you open up are going to have that text that you can't read, currently anyway. You can also see that when we try to move into the light, it gets very bright. And you probably can't tell, but it's kind of like an invisible wall. We can't get out there. So there's something about the light that we can't go out there. There's something about the light we don't like, apparently, which is kind of opposite because a lot of games it's the darkness you want to avoid. In this case, it's very bright light, which is an interesting change. You can go around and open various cupboards, things of that nature. So of course, as we start off, this is the beginning of the game. You didn't miss anything. So they kind of drop you in here, and you had to figure things out. So, and first things first, let's get out of this room. Let's unlock the door. And again, I'm interacting by left clicking. There's a note here. No idea what it says. We can go around here, look around what we have. Let's grab this axe. But you can't seem to pick it up for some reason. You seem to be very weak. That door is locked. So probably what we're going to do is maybe one or two puzzles, because there's kind of a pattern to not the puzzles themselves, but how the game progresses. In other words, solve a puzzle, do this thing. Solve a puzzle, do this thing, and make progress. So far, not really a whole lot's going on. We got some light switch over here. Now, this is a very, very slow-paced game if you haven't figured it out. You cannot run. You can only walk. More text in a language we can't seem to read. You can only walk, and this is definitely going to be hitting more for the audience who like more slow-paced, atmospheric games. Something along the lines more of Gone Home or Dear Esther. The developers themselves, I believe, have made that analogy. There's some water in this tub, and when I click it, it makes a noise, but nothing happens. And then again, bright lights here again. We want to avoid that. The bright lights, I get what they're going for. And again, this might just be me, but it was so bright, like it started to hurt my eyes. I had to whenever I was testing things, I had to kind of back into it and kind of turn my head away from the screen because it is really bright. So, and it's kind of interesting the way that worked out, because I ended up avoiding the lights because it hurt me. Like in real life, it hurt my eyes, which you might say, you know, again, I don't think that's what they intended, but I think it's an interesting side effect because obviously your character doesn't like the bright light, right? Or there's something about the light that is bad with your character. And I find it interesting that that kind of carried over into real life, and that I was intentionally avoiding the lights as if I was the player itself, which I think was pretty cool. Somebody's drawing on the wall. That seems kind of rude. Another note. Maybe this one is something we can read. No, it's not. So I think immediately some of you will know if you're going to be turned off by this type of game. It's definitely not your typical puzzle game. It's, again, very... Oops, I think we went this way. I kept getting turned around a lot. It's very slow paced, and the atmosphere is a big part of it. Dropping yourself into the atmosphere, into the world, and kind of putting the pieces together, right? You have no idea what's going on. We have no idea what's going on here. And they give you ways to kind of, you know, figure that out later on. So let's grab these keys. Oh, that's not really the best way to get that key out of there. Oh, looks like it's stuck, and you can see the bottom key is broken. Can we get through there? Nope, it is. The key has been broken off into there, and it's locked, which is unfortunate. Let's check here. That's locked. Gee, I wonder if we had a key. Again, this is a bright hallway. Not going to blind you again. Spoiler alert, going down there blinds you. So let's try that. Cool. That worked. Going to grab the key. And again, you can see we can scroll through our inventory here. It will automatically put items away when you don't use them after a little while, as you'll see now. Or you can right click. It'll do it as well. Let's go ahead and grab this bucket. Put that bucket away. And what good is a bucket? Well, we have a tub full of water. Let's go and see if we can use the tub, or the bucket rather, on the water. I really like the atmosphere of this game. Like I say, it has that weird, interesting in between creepy and calming. It's very interesting. Like I said, the atmosphere itself without any music would be very creepy, especially when you're opening doors and things, and when you see doors like that just moving on their own. That can be pretty freaky, but the music is kind of soothing. So I don't know if they did that on purpose, but I find it an interesting kind of a dichotomy that happens there. Anyway, let's go ahead and fill this bucket full of water. We filled it with a lot of water because it completely drained that tub. I don't know if that tub just had an optical illusion going on there, or if this bucket is just able to hold much more water. Now, if we come back in here, remember these flowers look kind of dead. Well, maybe some bath water would help. Now, I mean, I wouldn't want to drink bath water, but maybe if I was thirsty enough, I would do so. And let's see if anything happens. And you can crouch as well. Not really a whole lot of times that crouching comes in handy. Okay, see, all of our flowers bloomed. So now you think, okay, now what? What do we do now? Well, again, kind of a little spoiler here. Your character will start to yawn. I was actually kind of hoping he would do it on his own, but he's not doing it. But basically, that's kind of your sign to go rest on this really, really nasty mattress. Now, for some reason, every time you pull out the little picture, I guess you just feel more comfortable sleeping with that. But now that we've kind of worn ourselves out solving the puzzle, we're going to take a nap and go to sleep. What could be even more serene than that? Oh, well, we have an axe, and we have a bunch of black stuff coming out everywhere. But we can now go out here because the bright lights aren't coming through, but we have to keep moving to avoid this black stuff here. But you can see now in this world we can't get out. We can't get out into the darkness. Well, that's not good. But oddly enough, we can read the sign now. It says leave the hall lights on. Management. Okay, so if we stand still, we get carried away. I don't think there's a situation in this game where you can die. You just kind of get taken away from the nightmare world, I'm calling it. I don't know if that's what it really is, but that's what we'll call it. All right, so let's go ahead and turn the lights on. Let's go back in. And let's take a nap. One thing that can be frustrating is some puzzles require running back and forth. Well, not require it, but you'll end up running back and forth trying to solve the puzzle. With no run, it can be, again, if you're not really patient and if you're not really immersing yourself into the world, if you're not really in with that, I could see that being pretty frustrating. Sometimes it got a little frustrating for me, but I was doing a little bit better at kind of losing myself in it, so I was okay with it. So now we can go down here because, again, the bright light doesn't affect us too much. I'll listen to the sound effects. We'll bust that door down, walk through the lights, and we wake up from the terrible nightmare. And let's see if anything has changed. But yeah, sometimes going back and forth can be a bit tedious. And again, of course, the sign is back to normal, quote unquote. But as you can see now, that door that was locked has been opened. So what you do in, we'll call this the daytime, does affect what happens in the nighttime and vice versa. So we turn the lights on so that we can see in the dark. And then here we knock the door down so that we can come in over here. So I'm probably going to start you on the road to showing this puzzle, but I'm not going to solve it for you because this one felt pretty satisfying. We have more dead flowers over here. So you're probably starting to see a little bit of a pattern here with the dead flowers, you know, waking them up, going to sleep, that kind of thing. We'll go ahead and explore a little bit more. I do think there's different music for each section. Thought I heard something. Sorry. Something kind of creepy. Like I said, this game has a cool, like, combo of creepy and kind of soothing. So we can again open these various drawers, but this first one we can't open, but it has a combination lock on it. Again, I'm not going to show you how to get the combination, but if you look around, you know, sometimes you might find some clues that help you figure that out. Again, I'm not going to show you how to solve it, because if you play it, if this game wasn't so short, I'd be more inclined to want to show you another, like, how to solve another puzzle. However, again, with it being so short, the game, if you're good with puzzles, you probably could beat the game in about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. By the way, this photo has a weird effect when we do that. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it looks kind of cool. It's almost like a 3D effect. And they're all the same photo. Basically, it's all the batches of photos you'll see like this that are bunched together. They're all the same photo. But regardless, we have like all kinds of books and newspapers that we can't quite read. And I want to talk about that in just a moment. But yeah, the game, again, if you're good at puzzles, and if you tend to not really do anything besides the puzzle, you don't really read newspaper articles and journals and stuff like that to kind of find out what's going on in the world, you probably, again, could probably beat this game in about 2 hours, maybe less if you're really good at puzzles. It took me about probably around a little under 4 hours. I took up my time a lot and looked around a whole lot and tried to solve most of the puzzles without doing any kind of lookup. So I would say 4 hours almost max. There was some things I didn't go back and look at, but I don't think it's going to take you very long to beat this. That is something that you're going to want to keep in mind. That might be a decider for some folks. With it being $15, personally, I find it a little over expensive for what it is. We have some water here, and I don't think this is a huge spoiler here. We want to put the bucket under here, but it's just dripping. So we would have to take a very long time for that water to fill up that bucket. If only there was some other way to make the water come down faster. But anyway, as I was saying, personally, I think $15 for a 3-ish, we'll call it a 3 hour average time frame on beating the game, to me that's a bit much. I also thought that Gone Home was grossly overpriced at $20 to give you kind of a comparison, and I never played Dear Esther, so I don't have an opinion one way or the other on that game. However, again, some people have different values for the experience. Some people think, well, it doesn't matter how long the game is, it's the experience, and there's not a lot of games like this, right? where it's, again, very atmospheric, some interesting puzzles. So to you, it may be worth that, but I think it's important that you're aware of the short time frame so that you can make the decision for yourself if the game is going to work for you. We gotta... This thing's blocking the door. Again, if there was only some way to move that out of the way. Shame that. Oh, we can open that one. Let's see what's in there. Oh, look out. Weird. If we just open that top drawer, it just falls over. How bizarre. But I want to talk about the music a little bit here as we're kind of wrapping up, because again, I'm conflicted on showing you more of the game versus you kind of trying it out yourself because it is so short and because it is a puzzle game. I think you've pretty much figured out if this game is going to be right for you or not. You know what? Actually, tell you what. Let's do this. I'm gonna solve part of this puzzle off screen real quick, and I'll pick you guys back up just so you can see a little bit more as we wrap this up. Okay. So we'll pick up the item that's in here, and I'll show you how to do to the next part. Again, this is not a huge spoiler because you have to kind of figure out what's going on with the filing cabinets, and that's a puzzle in its own. And I don't consider this to be some kind of huge brain teaser. As soon as you pick this, probably pretty easy on figuring out what you need to do next. Put that away and grab the bucket. But yeah, overall, I like the atmosphere of this game. I really like the music as well. Right now, it's a lot more subtle. It actually is mostly subtle throughout the game, but especially some of the later stages with the cello going on, I really like those stages with the music. And it's really, I guess, it is a good game to really kind of lose yourself in, just kind of exploring the world. My favorite part of this game is a puzzle that you find later on, and it's kind of funny because I really got frustrated at first because I couldn't figure it out, and I actually did look up what you were supposed to do, at least in part. And again, without spoilers, there was a mechanic that they don't tell you about that is technically not necessary, but pretty much for the most part you're going to need to figure it out. And it's not something I would have thought to do because it's a mechanic that's just not explained at all. So I was very unhappy with how they did that. However, once you get that mechanic, it's really cool how it affects the world and how much it opens up, both in terms of solving a puzzle and finding out what's going on in the world. Again, I'm trying to be as vague as possible there, and that should be vague enough for you. But we'll go on through the next section here. Again, this is kind of how the pattern of the game works. Solve a puzzle, go to sleep, move on, find out how to move on to the next area, solve the puzzle. You know, kind of the same thing here. Oh, you know what? I forgot to leave the lights on. All right. So if you need to go back, you can just like stand still, and you'll go back. There's no penalty or anything, so you just quick back and forth. Not a big deal. No big loss. So we'll go ahead and turn these lights on. And I'll kind of wrap up while we move on to the next area, just again so you can kind of see what's going on there. But yeah, like I say, I like it. I think the price point, personally, I think it's a little bit high. You know, again, other folks might feel different. It's just, you know, that's something you are going to have to make a decision on yourself. Again, I think you could probably beat the game in 2 to 4 hours. 4 absolute max. 4 if, you know, maybe you're not great with puzzles. Actually, you know what? I think we're supposed to go this way. Oh, here we go. Turn this switch on. 4 if you're not great with puzzles, and if you read everything. Because at some point, let's just say that there's a lot of information that you can read later on. And if you're really interested in kind of what's going on here, then there's a lot to check into, which I would actually suggest because I think it helps, you know, again, kind of immerse yourself. And personally, I like things like that. I like kind of things that aren't directly related to progressing in gameplay. You know, obviously things like, you know, solving puzzles. Ah, dang it. Oh, no, here we go, I think. Yeah, here we go. Things like solving puzzles obviously you have to do, right, in order to progress. Like there's no question about that. But there's other things going on that you can figure out that aren't necessarily necessary for you to figure out, oh, this has been what's going on. This is, now things are making a little bit more sense. Which again, I would generally, if you're going to play this type of game, I would think that's probably the kind of information you would want to know. Anyway, we're going to actually stop here, kind of tease you with the next area. But that was Homesick. Again, that is by Lucky Paws. It's $14.99 on Steam for Windows only. I don't know if they're going to do any ports. I have no idea. But you can get a link to the game, and I'll try to remember to put an official link to the website as well in the description below. Also, I want to show the controls real quick. Very, very minimalistic controls. And also for settings, you got the basic stuff you really need. The only thing that they're missing that I really wish they would have is a music and sound effects slider, because sometimes in the Nightmare world, especially when I was switching back and forth, the Nightmare world would be really loud. But then the normal world, or whatever you want to call it, would be quiet. So I had to turn it up, turn it down, turn it up, turn it down. It wasn't a big deal. It was just in one area where I kept switching back and forth trying to figure out what to do. But I would like to have some kind of specific audio controls to lower or raise both the volume and the sound effects. But again, it's a pretty minor issue there. Anyway, hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you'd like to see more videos like this covering games you may not have heard of, make sure to subscribe. Leave comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of this game if you've tried it. Let me know if you'd like to try it. Let me know. If you have any questions, just leave them and I'll try to answer them the best that I can. Follow me on Twitter, and I will see you next time.